People gonna be so upset with me on this show. From your chair as an attorney, do you see people getting married for love or for money?
Oh, that's a good one.
So a recent study came out and revealed that nearly 48% of the people who look like me, Black people, minority people, will make on average about $38,000 a year. Now, the average person in America will make anywhere between like $45,000 to $55,000 a year. And to be honest, I don't like that. You and I both deserve more than that. We deserve the six figures if we're willing to put in the work. And I'm super excited because I have just recently partnered with an organization that can help you get there within 9 months. And that organization is called Bethel Tech. My friend Ryan here today is with me. Ryan, what are y'all doing over there at Bethel Tech that is changing people's lives in the next 9 months?
Yeah, we are the first online Christian coding boot camp in the world. We equip individuals with the most in-demand tech skills like software development, data science, UI, UX design. We just launched cybersecurity so that individuals can go into the marketplace and get high-paying, high-growth careers in the tech space.
Like how much?
Well, average starting pay for a developer is $65,000. It's not uncommon to be making six figures within a year, honestly. That's just where the demand is, and that's the rocket ship growth in the space.
So listen, we're about to get into today's show, but I want to make sure that you check out the link in the show description. Listen, Bethel Tech is changing your life in the next 9 months. If you can commit to 9 months, I promise you the next 9 years of your life has changed. Let's get to today's show.
What's happening? No captain. We with AO, about to get a plate bowl. Pull up to the table. Let's go.
Yo, what's going on, fam? It's your boy Anthony Neal. Welcome back to the table, ATL edition. I know I don't have the beautiful big table sitting in front of me, but I do have a table, and it's a little different. Okay, let's just be real. But yo, listen, this month I wanted to come down to Atlanta and interview and talk with and have a real dope conversation with some of my Atlanta friends. And I didn't want to have all of them drive up to Nashville. I said, listen, I'll just come down there and chill out with you all. So I hope you all are actually enjoying this Atlanta edition of The Table. Today I'm really excited because I have a good friend of mine. She just recently became a good friend of mine because there's a subject out there that I really want to talk about. You know, you guys know I'm very big on helping you build wealth. You know, I'm very big on helping you get out of debt. I'm very big on helping you secure your legacy and your foundation. And there's a subject out there that's kind of taboo, that's kind of uncomfortable to have. And some people are like, no, yeah. And I'll be honest up front, I'm a little bit on the yeah side of things. And I say, you know what, let me get a professional to come in because I'm on that side because of opinion, not because of my expertise. So today we're gonna be talking about prenups. You know, we're gonna be talking about should you, whether you make $10,000 or $10 million a year, sign prenups. That's right. Before I actually asked my friend Michelle to come, and I'm gonna bring her in here in a little bit so we can get straight into today's conversation. Because this show may not be as entertaining. Well, wait, when you see her faces, y'all gonna laugh, okay? Because her faces gives away her answer before she even talks, like for real. Even one of my social media people said, I'm intimidated by you. We can take that out if we need to, CJ. No, let's keep it in there for real. But before doing the show, I did some research, and I really wanted to make sure that I just set this thing up correctly, all right? So despite half of all marriages ending, okay, in divorce, only 11% of couples actually go into their marriages thinking they will get a divorce. Meaning that if you and I were to get married, well, I'm gonna say this correctly, women, you and I, okay, I don't do brothers, I do sisters. If a man and a woman was to get married, 11% of them are thinking there might be a possibility that we may not make it. And if that was me, if there was a 1% thought in my head that my wife and I couldn't make it, we wouldn't get married. And 5% of people who actually get married actually have a prenup in place. This is pretty interesting, pretty alarming with that. And I really want to bring in an expert because that kind of bothers me. So it's like, we're trusting the state more than we're trusting each other. So we're going to have that conversation. And let me say this up front. Ladies, I know y'all watching right now. Anthony's talking about prenups, and he kind of thinks like, yes, he wants a prenup. I get it. I get your opinion. Today, I want you to listen to learn. Don't listen to respond. Don't listen to be in your emotions. That's from both ladies and from men. Listen to learn from an expert, from a woman expert who is licensed in this area, who loves God, and who went to school for this, and who deals with this on a daily basis. Her name is Michelle Thomas, and she's at the table to have a real conversation about prenups. And some of the stuff we may not like. I may like it, but y'all may not. But Michelle is an attorney, an expert in prenups agreements, and she has her own law firm called Michelle Thomas and Associates. One of the main reasons why I brought her on this show is not just for prenups, it's because she also aligns with my vision. She's debt-free, and she was able to do that 6 months after opening up her actual law firm. So I want to welcome everyone. Not welcome everyone. I want us to welcome my friend, attorney Michelle, to the table. What's up, Michelle?
Hey, how are you?
Hoo-wee. I'm a little nervous about today's conversation, okay? Because, you got people already judging and, oh, my God, no, prenups, faith, and this and that.
Yeah.
They're already.
A lot of controversy around it.
A lot of controversy around it, which is why you're here.
Yeah.
I'm going to be real on the show. You're a woman, okay? Because mostly ladies have a problem with it, okay? You're Black. And you're also licensed and you have all of the knowledge around this area.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, you know what? I'm going to take my opinion out of it and bring an expert in and have a real conversation. But before we go there, because we're going to go there, let's just tell the people a little about who is Michelle? Like, who are you outside of the attorney? Who are you? What's your upbringing?
Sure. So I'm a native New Yorker.
Oh,
born and raised Long Island, New York.
I knew it.
Yeah. Well,
that's where the straightforwardness comes from.
I'm a very straight shooter. What you see is what you get. Anybody who knows me would probably agree with that.
Yeah.
I went from New York to North Carolina, Chapel Hill for college as an out-of-state student. And then I went to the George Washington University Law School.
Wow.
Where I obtained my law degree. And a couple of years out of school, I started my own law firm. MC Thomas and Associates PC, Washington, D.C. based. We practiced in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. And it was just, I stepped out on faith early in my career, and there's been no looking back.
No looking back.
Yeah, it's been a great ride.
Wow.
Yeah.
So would you say you're a spiritual individual?
Oh, I'm a believer.
You are a believer?
I'm an absolute believer, yeah.
Okay, what's your denomination, would you say? Upbringing in it?
Sure, I was raised, I think, much like you, in the Kojic faith, Pentecostal, yeah. So I'm
We good.
I'm an absolute Bible-believing, Christian, saved woman.
Well, hold on. An attorney, add attorney.
And attorney,
yeah,
absolutely.
add attorney. She's a Bible-believing, Christian, saved, Black attorney.
Yes.
Woman attorney. I'm setting it all up for y'all ladies right now. Okay, cool. So let's get to it.
Yeah.
You're a family attorney as well, so divorce and family attorney.
Divorce and family law, yeah.
So we know what divorce is, but I think a lot of people don't really understand what a family attorney does.
Yeah.
What is that?
So family lawyers can handle things outside of divorce, like child custody matters, and also prenuptial agreements. So if you're not getting divorced, we also can help bring families together through the context of a prenup, which I think we're going to talk about today. So postnuptial agreements, all that stuff.
Okay, so got it. Let's break down exactly what is a prenup.
Sure. A prenup, Anthony, is a contract that two people enter into in contemplation of marriage. So if you and your significant other plan to get married, you set a date and all that, you decide to sit down, usually with a lawyer, to work out how you're going to resolve issues and differences if the marriage should dissolve. You put that into writing, into an agreement, both of you sign it, and it should be legally binding if it's done correctly. If it's done correctly.
Why do you say if like that?
Because it's easy to challenge prenups sometimes. There are some grounds on which people can challenge a prenup down the road, so it really matters that you get the right legal, competent representation early in the process. But yeah, it's a contract between two people.
Wow.
Yeah, and because if you don't decide what's going to happen to your property, your assets, your money down the road, if you do divorce, the state is going to do it for you. So.
Wait.
Yeah.
Right. So it's either we do a prenup in the very beginning when we love each other.
And like each other, yes.
And like each other.
Yeah.
Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I love you and if I like you, I'm going to be very generous and very, honest
you're more likely to be fair.
Right.
I think on the front end when you are in love and you're seeing stars and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So it's better to decide what happens to your money when you are both on the same page than when you're sort of at the opposite. Because the thing is, Anthony, when people divorce, you're not generally divorcing the same person you married. Ooh. Sometimes you don't even recognize the person that you're divorcing when you get to that point. And so sometimes all bets are off at the end of the day. And so it's much better to, when you're on speaking terms and you are really enjoying each other, to sit down, have a mature conversation about what happens if you happen to fall into that 50% where the marriage does not survive.
Okay, you're teaching good, so I'm just asking questions.
Sure.
If we don't do the prenup and then we fast forward and for whatever reason, life happens, unfortunately, we can't make it.
Yeah.
There's a divorce. Now you're saying the state that we live in decides what happens with our assets and everything.
Yeah, if you don't, unless you can reach an agreement between the two of you. So, but it's divorce law, it's very state specific. So depending upon which state you're in, it might be an equitable distribution jurisdiction, it might be a community property state. Okay. But either which way you look at it, the state's going to decide what happens to your money and how the property's divided, unless you reach an agreement or have a prenuptial.
So I know you're in the DMV area.
Yeah.
So I know that's where you practice. Do you know what is like one of the hardest states to have a divorce from the state perspective?
I think that's hard to answer because I think every divorce really takes on a life of its own. Okay. A lot of the factors that impact that are the people, how difficult and or agreeable the couple is that's divorcing.
Yeah.
Whether you're looking at it from a very spiteful, malicious standpoint and just want to get your ex back, that's going to make for a very difficult divorce versus trying to just resolve the problem as maturely as you can. So I think that's hard to answer in terms of a state.
I love it. One of my mentors, actually a couple of my mentors advised me, there's like, Anthony, as you're building your brand, as you're building your wealth, you should consider having a prenup. And I am definitely considering that because I've learned prenups is not just about the finances.
Yeah.
Can you help us understand what all does a prenup cover?
It can cover almost anything and everything except issues that relate to children. In terms of child custody, you cannot determine in a prenuptial agreement what would happen to the children if you were to divorce. You cannot set a fixed amount of child support, let's say, down the road, in the future. So issues that relate to the children are going to be probably outside the scope of a prenup. But other than that, you can have a prenup that's as detailed as, how many, who does household chores, who can use whose likeness, your image, social media. You can have a prenup that really addresses anything and everything. But most commonly, it's used to address alimony, spousal support payments. It's used to address the property, what happens, who gets to keep the house or homes, plural.
Yeah.
It can determine what happens if someone is found cheating.
Ooh, yeah.
Whether there's adultery or infidelity in the marriage, you can have special provisions that say you don't get to keep anything if you decide to be unfaithful.
Right.
You can include what we call sometimes sunset provisions, where after a certain amount of time that you've been married, the prenup then expires like after 20 years, 25 years. So there's really so much that you can do and include in a prenuptial agreement that helps to minimize the tension down the road.
Now, do you recommend that? Like if you sign a prenup, okay, y'all together for 20 years, let it go.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the couple. It's what I offer are very customized services. So you have to really look at the individuals that are coming to you, and each party to a prenup should probably have their own attorney. Because it's a conflict of interest. I can't represent both sides. But I would look at my client, look at the needs, long-term goals, what they anticipate, the issues that they're having already, because most couples still have issues, even if they love each other. And then you decide what makes sense.
My brain is already like a little bit tired because I'm like, man, it's just a lot of information to take in around this conversation. Because one part of me as a Christian, to be honest, is, am I saying I don't trust God by having my wife sign a prenup, or a future wife having her future husband sign a prenup? Like, I still battle that inside of my head.
Well, and understandably so, because people say that to have a prenup is planning for divorce. You're planning for the end and marriage is forever and you're taking a vow before God and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that you can look at it from a different perspective, Anthony. I mean, one, you can look at a prenup, first of all, as a type of insurance, right? Like we trust God every time we get in our car that he's going to protect us and keep us covered. We trust God every time we go to sleep at night that we're not, the house isn't going to burn down, et cetera. But you still have car insurance.
Ooh.
You still have property insurance, So it's really, it's not much different from that perspective because remember, God also gives us wisdom and discernment. So things happen. And the other side of it is you can only control yourself.
Right.
So you don't know what changes your spouse may go through over the next 5, 10, 15 years.
Okay.
So because of those uncertainties that we cannot control, it makes sense to at least explore whether a prenup is right for you in your situation.
So let's go there. Who should sign a prenup?
See, the lawyer in me says everyone. So, but
everyone? So even if a guy's only making $30,000 a year,
yeah.
you would still say if you're marrying someone, still sign a prenup.
So, that's the guy. What is the woman making? I mean, we don't.
Let's say she's making 60.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying, like, should they still sign a prenup?
I think that you should at least speak to someone about whether it makes sense. Because what is the vision that you have for your life? What is the vision that your soon-to-be spouse has for their lives? I mean, if you plan to grow, if you plan to, develop wealth, whether you're making 30 or 60, you can still certainly build together.
Yeah.
And what happens if you feel like one of you is not pulling his or her weight in the marriage? There's resentment that can build up. So I think it makes sense to at least speak to someone about whether a prenup is right for you.
So a prenup doesn't cover pre-marriage. A prenup can also cover what you gain inside of the marriage as well?
Well, that's the focus of a prenup, actually, is what happens to property or assets that would otherwise be considered marital money or marital assets. And that is determined by your state. The state that you live in defines what marital property is.
Yeah.
What happens to that marital property if you divorce down the road?
Oh.
So
I thought prenups was only, if I have $1 million, you have or 50,000. She ain't that broke, y'all. She got money. I just had to say it on my show because it's my show. If I have $1 million, you got 50, we get married, it only protects me up until that $1 million.
that's what you thought?
Yes. Not before now. This was before really understanding prenups.
Okay.
So it's like if we
It's a
get married,
misconception,
yeah. So I think a lot of people believe that. Like prenups only cover like what I come into the marriage with. But if that $1 million goes to 10 million, I'm even still protecting that 10 million.
Yeah, so let's say, for example, I'm only licensed in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, right? So if we take those 3 jurisdictions, the way that marital property is defined or separate property is any money that you had prior to the marriage is your separate property unless you commingle it. So that property is already going to be yours with or without a prenup.
Oh, yeah.
So once you get married and you continue to build wealth or acquire assets, that's what's on the table for the court to divide and say, you may have, your spouse may not have lifted a dime, let's say, in your business, but we think the business is marital property and should be divided, the value should be divided 50-50. That's going to hurt.
Yeah.
If you've been the one putting in your blood, sweat, and tears for 5, 10, 15, however long you've had it.
Yeah.
So it's really about, in large part, what's happening during the marriage that a prenup can I think, decide. So,
Yeah. One of my mentors.
So prenup is just pre-planning for the nuptials, the wedding, the marriage.
Yes. Yeah. I'm following now. I'm getting this thing now. I'm feeling good. I feel like I'm an attorney now. I feel educated. One of my attorneys said, one of my mentors, a spiritual mentor said, prenups is honestly being a good steward. He was like, because if you're coming into the marriage with wealth and with kids, and let's say you get married, and let's just say something doesn't go right, and then now you allow the state to decide who gets what. And let's say you come in there with 10 million, but then you leave the marriage with 2 million. Now you just hurt your kid's future because you didn't set it up correctly up front.
Yeah.
Do you see his angle on that from a stewardship perspective?
I can see it as being a good steward, but really I think it's about being proactive about protecting your future overall, your future, your children's future. It's about being proactive and approaching your marriage from a place of empowerment as opposed to just not of uncertainty, you know, and to people that say that a prenup is planning for the divorce, I really say, to those people, I say it's really planning for the marriage because it creates the opportunity for you to have the difficult conversation, for you to talk about what your financial goals are, what your spending habits will be, what will happen if one person is a stay-at-home mother or father and not working for years, and what they should be entitled to. So it creates a platform to have these difficult conversations that a lot of times you're not having because they're uncomfortable, right? It's not sexy to talk about what happens with the money and whether you're going to get paid or not. People don't want to have those conversations. But a prenup gives you the platform to have those conversations and ultimately minimize the tension down the road that arises from marital, monetary issues. Yeah. So I think they do more good than harm.
I'm flowing with you. I mean, and if marriages are ending 50% and only 11% of people are thinking there's a small possibility we may get a divorce down the road, it may not work. What it's showing me is that we're going into this one way, but like you said, we all change. And Christian or not Christian, I mean, 5 out of 10 people are getting a divorce. Yeah. And really, when we really look at it today, let's be real on this show. I mean, you were talking about this offline. The numbers have gone down a little bit from the divorce, but only because people are not getting married.
Right.
I mean, they're just living together and not saying I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I hear about this, one of my friends who is a very wealthy individual just recently went through a divorce, right? And he had a prenup. And his wife, who I know, they're not ending on a negative term, but it's not an easy separation, right? But they both said that prenup allowed them to just focus on their kids.
Yeah.
Like, she already knew what she was walking away with. He knew what he was walking away with. And then the hardest part was fighting for who gets the kids.
Yeah.
So it seems like it brings a little bit more of a peaceful exit than it does hurting the exit.
Right. And because the people who are anti-prenup, a lot of times, I say, have not seen or experienced the devastation of divorce up close and personally. Because once you've gone through that, you then have a different perspective. You know, when I've divorced clients who did not have a prenup, they often say to me, the next time around, I'm getting a prenup. Like, once they have gone through the process of divorce, because with that, you can minimize so much of the conflict and the tension and the strife by just having resolved at least the monetary issues. And then, like you said, focusing on the children, on your own well-being. So, yeah.
So let me answer this question, because that's a good question. And I have it written on my notes. You know, like, man, boy, people are going to be so upset with me on this show. From your chair as an attorney, do you see people getting married for love or for money?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good question.
I'm serious. I mean, because it's a tough one to answer.
Yeah.
Because I'm just gonna say, for me, I don't want tough love marriage. Like, I don't want to get married to someone only because I love her, but we are struggling. We are just not compatible, but I love her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in a lot of instances, love is not always enough.
I mean,
there's more to it in order to make the marriage work and last. So, I see people marrying for all kinds of reasons. Absolutely. A lot of times the wrong reasons. Right. Sometimes pressure, societal pressure. Sometimes it's age. And so ultimately, like you said, they're either going to struggle or ultimately divorce. So, you want to do the work on the front. I mean, one of the things I see is people spending so much time planning for the wedding day and not enough time planning for the marriage.
The marriage.
And so as part of the planning for the marriage, that includes both premarital counseling, whether it's pastoral or, another counselor. It includes meeting with a lawyer, a family lawyer, to talk through some of the monetary issues and other issues that can arise in a marriage, it involves all of that before you say, I do.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people go through the process, they end up saying, I don't, and they don't marry the person once you've had those real conversations. But the time to have them is before you say, I do, not after.
Absolutely. I think for me, definitely, I want to marry someone who I love, but then also I want to marry someone who I can build with.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. I mean, if I can't build with you, then it'll be hard for me to love you.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not talking about build, we got to go out there and work and do this thing 50-50, you know. But what I am saying is, can our visions align together and can we go build legacy? And if we can't do that, then I can't love you.
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. And you said a powerful word there, which is alignment.
Absolutely.
You have to be in alignment with both, you know, what you want, be honest with yourself,
Yes.
and then you need your partner to be in alignment with you. It's about determining whether you have shared goals and shared values. You know, what do you two value? Do you value, you know, family? Do you value wealth building? Do you value living, you know, your spending habits? Like, are they in alignment? So these are the questions and that's why I say love is nice. It's good and you should have it, but that's not necessarily enough to make a marriage work.
Yo, if you're just now tuning in to the show, welcome back to the table. It's your boy, Anthony O'Neill, and I am joined here with my good friend, Michelle, attorney Michelle, who is a family and divorce attorney. Listen, before we get back to the show, listen, she's dropping some amazing gems, but let me drop this quick gem before we get back to her. Listen, one of the things about divorces, right, is savings accounts, right? You want to save for an emergency. And I pray that you never have to go through a divorce, but we're having this conversation, but you may get a prenup, and prenups are expensive, which means you need to have some money set aside. Listen, when it comes to savings account, I park my money at Prize Pool, all right? Prize Pool is, in my opinion, the #1 savings account, especially for millennials, because everything is digital, and they're gonna pay you way more interest for your money. They're gonna give you about 0.30%, that's which is about like 6.5 times higher than the national average out there. And check this out, this is the dopest part of them. They're FDIC insured, and let's say you just parking $5,000, or let's say you park $50,000 there. No matter amount that you have, say you have $50,000, they're gonna give you 50,000 tickets to go towards a grand prize every single month. Their grand prizes ranges anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000 monthly. And then they're giving away $100, $500 a week just for you parking your money in the account. So check it. You can have your money guaranteed to stay there and grow a little bit with their high interest rate. And then also you may get some extra money. I've actually already won about $300 from them for just parking my money there. So I'm gonna encourage you to join me at Prize Pool. Their information is in the show description. But let's get back to today's show, because Attorney Michelle is, she's challenging us today. So Michelle, for the people watching right now who are saying, okay, you know what, I like this. But yo, how do I approach?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when is the right time to bring up the conversation about prenups? Because what you don't want to do is propose and then bring the prenup. They're gonna be like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
So when is the right time in dating? Because a lot of people watching right now are dating. And I do believe a lot of people right now, because my tribe are ladies like yourself, young, bright, successful, and minorities. Mm-hmm. So they come into the table with the bag, with wisdom, with knowledge, with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think some people will be down for a prenup. When is the right time to have that conversation in a healthy way?
That's a really good question. And I think that not the first date, but...
I was about to say the first date.
But no, not the first date, not the second date, but pretty early in the process, because if it's important to you, and when you first start to think, okay, there's something here, like this could be more than just a random, just dating casually.
Yeah.
It's a good time to start talking about what's important to you and what's important to the other person, and see if those items align. Because once your heart gets all caught up, it's so much harder to make the decisions that are right for you. It's harder to walk away. It's harder to...
I see.
Yeah. So if you know that you're both in alignment, you don't need to discuss all the details earlier on, but just, is the person open to the idea of a prenuptial agreement? Or is that a deal breaker?
See, I was thinking the opposite. Make her fall in love, then ask her. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you're on in, like, girl, I know you love me, right? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, doesn't love change things? But you just made a valid point. Love will change things, but if she genuinely doesn't want that at her core, then she will say yes when she knows she really doesn't want that.
Right. It complicates matters. Like when you're all in love and then you're like, oh, by the way, you know, I mean, yes, for your purpose, sure, you can get, you know, reel them in and then pop it on them. But I think
and then she'll probably walk away too.
It's a possibility. So that's why I say you should get on the same page earlier in the process.
Dang, Michelle was like, maybe day 3? Day three. Nah, I ain't gonna do it day 3. Maybe week 3?
I mean, just
early.
Yeah, earlier than not.
All right, so let's walk through this, Michelle. All right, so, you know, me and my young ladies at dinner, and this is, let's say we're 2 months in. We're 2 months in, right? As a woman, how would you want your man to bring that conversation up? And don't come at me as attorney Michelle right now, because your face always like, just tell me. I mean, you gonna sign one anyways.
What I was about to say was I'll probably be the one bringing it up, but yeah.
Okay, let's do it that way. So you know, you with your guy, you know what I'm saying? Shoot, we know with Michelle, it's gonna be date 2. You know what? I guarantee you, her future husband is gonna already know that's what you want because that's what you do. So how would you bring that up?
You know we need to have a prenup, right?
Are you serious?
No, I'm kidding.
I was about to say.
I mean, I think you just
I'd be like, really, Michelle? You better come at me softer.
But I'm very, you know, I think that it's important to just say, you know, just what's important to me. Like wealth building is really important to me.
Right.
You know, that's one of the things that I value most. You know, what do you value?
Okay.
What do you value? And listen.
I value wealth building too. That ain't got nothing to do with prenups though.
Well, no, I think, okay, how do you plan to build wealth? You know, what mechanisms do you plan to put in place to help protect it?
Protect it?
Yeah.
Life insurance, policies, trust.
Yeah. And I would say, you know, I was reading online or talking to a lawyer the other day, and they mentioned prenups are a good way to protect your wealth as well.
Or you were talking to another attorney about what you practice?
So, I'm trying to help you out, okay? I'm trying to give you some tips.
But that's a good, I like how you just said that. So I was talking to an attorney, doing some research, and I learned about prenups. And you didn't say, I want this, but you're asking them, what is your thoughts and opinion on prenups?
Right, that I heard that that's a good way too, that we can protect our wealth. And make it mutually beneficial. And
then my response would be, well, how does that help us when prenups really protects the individual?
Right, but it protects both people individually. So it protects the person who has the money, it protects the person who doesn't. Because also, if the other person has all these assets that are otherwise considered separate property, and you've sacrificed your career, let's say, to be a homemaker and help build your spouse's success, you don't want them to be able to say, well, here's, you know, $5 and go on about your business. You want to make sure that you're protected, that if you've sacrificed and raised the kids and made a happy home, that you will be compensated as much as possible in an equitable manner. So it protects both people.
And I am not quoting this to be factual. I only read this online, but I read that Kanye and Kim Kardashian had an agreement, and inside the agreement, past a certain amount of years, she got $1 million for every year she was with them. And that seems like what I hear you saying is, if you're this woman that is staying at home building, or husband, because you have husbands staying at home, you know, you can put inside the prenup that protects you to where, like you said, hey, every year we're married, I'm getting $1 million, or I'm getting X amount of dollars if we were to leave.
Right, or every year that I've stayed at home, that I've sacrificed my career, my goals and aspirations to build your success.
Right.
Then I should be compensated accordingly. You know, it can be a gradually increasing scale. You can make it a percentage of your, you know, of your profits, and you know. So, but there's a lot of ways you can do it. But it does protect both the person that holds the cards, the money, and also the one that doesn't.
So let's say you're in DC. Because I'm going to your area, right? Say you're in D.C., you're a stay-at-home wife, you married a multimillionaire, y'all get a divorce. Can she still walk away with, like, a lot of money? in the state of DC without a prenup?
So the marital money, if there's no prenup, whatever was acquired during the marriage is going to be divided equitably.
Is it 50-50?
It's not automatically 50-50.
Okay,
So
okay.
DC, Maryland, Virginia, they're what we call equitable distribution jurisdictions.
Okay.
Equitable doesn't always mean equal. It means fair.
Fair.
Yeah. Community property states like California, Texas, those are oftentimes a 50-50 divide. But there's only about 13 or so states in the country that are community property states.
Good. DMV. I'm liking that place.
Yeah, but how marital properties defined differs from state to state, even between DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So you definitely want to meet with a lawyer and learn, how your state would handle it.
So, all right, let's have another question. I wrote this question down too, because this is good. What options do couples that are already married who are watching this saying, dang. now that would be a little weird. Yeah. Now, if me and my wife was married, she was watching this show, and then she said, well, hey, I was watching the table with Anthony O'Neill, and you like him, right? Yeah, I do. I love him. You like his advice? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what options do married couples have to now go back and protect themselves?
Sure. So married couples, you have options too. There's something called a postnuptial agreement.
Ooh.
Works very similarly to a prenup, except you're already married.
Do you see that often?
I have done a few. I have done some postnuptial agreements, but what I will say is that when I'm doing a postnup, I often think, well,
you might as well get divorced.
They'll be back in a little bit for the divorce, because sometimes that's a sign that you have some concerns in the marriage, but it's not the end. You can do a postnuptial agreement. You can go to marriage counseling and turn things around. But yeah, that's oftentimes not a great sign.
Yeah, I would feel a certain kind of way if my wife came back to me and said I want to post.
But it depends on the circumstances. I mean, maybe there's some business venture or something that someone's doing and they just need to make sure that it's protected and your spouse could be on board with it.
Oh my God.
Tough conversation though.
Oh my God.
Postnups.
This is crazy. I mean, because I'm sitting there thinking about it.
Breathe through it, Anthony. Breathe through it.
I'm thinking about it. Like, man, I don't want people to get, but it's like, man, because when I think about it now, I know someone, they're not a friend of mine, but he unfortunately stepped outside of the marriage, and his wife came back to him and said, cool, but she said a prenup. She said, I want a prenup if you want me back. I am willing to give you a second chance, but I want to be protected just in case if I come back.
Yeah. I mean, there are people that have done that as well. They'll renegotiate the terms once there's been an indiscretion and say that if you want me, that's fine, but it's going to be on my terms now.
Man. In your expertise, what's the main reason, top 3 reasons why people are getting divorced?
So one of the biggest, I think, misconceptions is that it's money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it oftentimes stems from a lack of appreciation. In gratitude for your spouse. And that sets the stage for a host of other problems to then surface and emerge.
Break that down. Because, I mean, studies say it's money, but in your field, you're seeing it differently.
Well, practically speaking, I mean, it's money can be a factor, more so financial deceit.
Okay.
So sometimes if someone is concealing money, assets, has offshore accounts, and then someone finds out, that there can be feelings of betrayal.
Yeah.
Oftentimes that financial deceit, though, is accompanied also by other kinds of deceit.
Yeah.
Like infidelity, that may also be present. I oftentimes see, though, that the beginning of the erosion of the marriage oftentimes comes from that lack of appreciation, taking your spouse for granted. A lot of times is what then opens the door for them to feel appreciated by someone else, not their spouse. That just sort of opens the door for some of these other issues that then become larger and larger and lead to divorce. So people fight over money during the divorce, but what prompts it is a lot of times people stop doing the things they used to do for their spouse. I mean, it's the basic stuff, being kind, saying please, thank you for the little things, making you coffee in the morning, taking the garbage out, taking for granted that your spouse will be coming home every night. They don't have to come home. Be thankful, be appreciative.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of the little things that then over time erode a marriage.
So you see divorces a lot clearly because that's what you do for a living.
Yeah.
Does it discourage you sometimes, honestly?
From marriage? No, I don't think so. I think, quite frankly, I thought to myself, I need to write a book on what not to do. I from the experience that I've had over these last 18 years, if anything, it better equips you, right, to know what not to do to avoid being in that situation.
Oh, go there. Give us. All right, you say like a lot of things, right? Give us 2 main things as single people not to do going into a marriage.
Going into a marriage, what should you not do? You should not criticize.
Ooh, that's so good.
Criticize, belittle.
Ooh.
Being careful with your words, your language, people talk about communication, lack of communication. Second point, also a major reason for divorce, how you communicate.
Okay.
So one of the things for people who are, type A, let's say personalities, someone that's in a profession like mine that's generally a more aggressive profession, is making sure you can turn it off, right?
I don't think Michelle can turn it off.
Don't tell the people that. Do not tell the people
I don't think Michelle. I'm just playing because she actually did. You did turn it off because pre-camera you wasn't this soft and this kind. You know what I'm saying?
Extremely kind.
She came for me pre-camera, y'all.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Michelle was the real Michelle then.
That is.
Camera's just like. Yeah. So I'm
always the real Michelle. That is. Would you tell the people that's not true?
No, I mean that is a good call out because I think ladies who of your caliber, it is hard to turn off that caliber when you come home to your husband. Yeah. Because a man doesn't want masculine energy in the house, and I'm pretty sure a woman doesn't want another feminine energy in the house.
No.
See what I mean by her faces? That was the real Michelle who I know right there. Her face said no. So I mean, I think that is difficult. Yeah. And so whenever you do get married, I'm going to ask your husband.
So the other thing, though, is also respect.
Ooh. Respect for the woman or respect for the man?
Well, both. But in terms of what can contribute, what not to do. So your self-worth, right, cannot and should not be tied to your net worth. So sometimes in a situation where the woman, let's say, is the high wage earner. That can translate into having, let's say, a lack of respect sometimes for, your spouse as the head of the household. And if that's the arrangement that you both agree to, going into the marriage, you need to make sure that you are able to adhere to that, that level of respect. But it works both ways. Certainly women should not be disrespected in any way. But I see that sometimes as well. If sometimes the woman is the one sort of running things out in the world and, that it becomes harder for her to respect him. And so then you have to look at, well, why? And are you tying his worth to
his money?
And I think it's whatever you agree to. If you went into the marriage expecting the reverse, maybe you are frustrated by what's happened. But you shouldn't change it up after you say I do. People change a lot after they say I do.
I think that's a conversation that I'm going to have with men. Like, how do we feel? Like, how do you feel when you meet, a young lady like Michelle, very successful, very educated, and is building her own wealth, and she may make more money than you? Like, how do you feel as a man? And then I would love to ask, I think I'm going to ask that on my singles panel. I'm doing one here in a few months because it's like, why is it hard for a woman who makes more to still respect a man as long as he's being the man? Like, I really do understand. I understand financial security is very important, but I'm like, why is it hard? Because I heard someone say that on Clubhouse before. If my man makes less than me, I'll look down on him. And I was like, wow.
That's awful.
Why? Like, is he working? Does he have vision? Does he have morals? Does he have values?
Right, I was going to say that's a conversation about what do you value?
Yes.
Right, because if you value integrity and honesty and respect, then that should not taint your perception of that person.
Because, there's a lot of good police officers out there who make $40,000 a year. A lot of good school teachers who make $38,000. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina. So when you say Raleigh-Durham area, the Chapel Hill, I know all about it.
Yeah, Fayetteville.
Fayetteville, right? And so Fayetteville school teachers are going to make anywhere between $35,000 to $41,000 a year. Yeah. But that's a good man who's teaching our kids at Fort Bragg their parents are serving in our army, they shouldn't be looked down on because they are serving our community.
Right. It's definitely not. Those are very noble professions, but this is, you're driving the point home as to why you need to have a conversation surrounding the prenup before you say I do, because you need to talk about what happens if your earning potentials switch in reverse during the marriage. I have seen that where couples got married at the same place in life, sort of, socioeconomic status, career status. One party, in this particular case I'm thinking of, it was a woman whose career took off, soared. He couldn't handle it.
Wow.
And so how will you feel? And you need to be able to have an honest, you're not surprised by that.
Who ain't surprised?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
Man, please. Let my wife go out there and make a couple million over me. Hey, girl, how you doing? My name is still Antonio. You know what I'm saying? I'm still the man in this house. You know what I'm saying? Come here.
Oh, boy.
That would turn me on if my wife was out there and her gift opened up those kind of doors for her. I would be like, yo, good.
Yeah.
Because my wife would know I'm still going to be the man and I'm still going to respect, honor. And I honestly look forward to serving my wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? But you better go make $2 million and let me get your purse. Go ahead, do your thing. Walk in there, shut the room down. Let them know who you is.
You need to find you a woman real fast.
I don't need to find me nothing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. I'm good. And I think where I'm going to next, because I haven't announced where I'm moving to yet, right? So I think I'm going to find her there. You said I will find her there.
I believe that.
Think so?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know what? Who gonna be on my payroll? Michelle. Not for divorce. Because I don't waited too long to get a divorce, Michelle.
You know what?
I've waited too long to get a divorce.
Yeah.
I waited too long. I've walked away from one engagement. And I am happy for that.
Can you say why? I mean...
why? Yeah, because she didn't want any kids. She didn't want any more kids. And honestly, she was 11 years older than me. So great woman. I mean, to this day, one of the most, high quality ladies I've ever been around in my life. I cannot sit here and say we broke up. I walked away for negative reasons.
Okay.
But one of the things our counselor told us when we was in premarital counseling is she already raised 2 kids solely by herself. Graduated from high school before I proposed. So he said she was coming off of a mountain that I was coming to and ready to climb.
Yeah.
I wanted the kids. I wanted the family time. She wanted to get rid of her 2 kids and travel and do her own thing. And he was like, neither one of you are wrong for that season. It's just that she's experienced so much more life than you.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you immature, doesn't make her more mature. It just means that she's just a little more seasoned in this area. She needs to be with a guy that's seasoned in that area.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. But she didn't agree with that. No. And that's why I walked away.
That's interesting.
I really did, and I think...
So she thought you could have resolved it somehow?
No, I honestly think that at that time, honestly, we did love each other a lot. And she met me when I was a youth pastor making like $32,000 a year. And she was with me when I transitioned and started making the high 6 figures. And she played a huge role in that. She was there for my ups, my downs. And I think we just was like, yo, this is what we knew. We knew each other. And she was already making great money, driving her dream car, living in her dream home. And I think she was like, I've already sacrificed. Like, I've already invested into you. Let's do it. And it was hard. I think we stayed in contact for about 6 months after I walked away because we genuinely didn't love each other.
Yeah.
But I genuinely knew that she was in her 40s already at the time. And I knew she was not going to want to have 2 more kids.
Yeah.
And I felt like, and I had to be honest with myself, her kids would come home with grandkids, call her grandma, call me Mr. Anthony. I would grow to be a little upset with that. And I was just like, no.
Yeah.
And eventually she got that. We talked and she said, I get it. And it was hard for me. Because, I was like, yes, I'm off the market. but I knew down the road, I want kids.
Yeah.
I want to pass down legacy. And then someone said, well, what if you get with a woman you marry and you find out that she can't have kids? I would deal with that at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, I knew I was walking into something that I could not.
Right.
So that's why.
Yeah, that's tough.
She asked me a question on my show. That's why Michelle, my people. You know? Yo, Michelle, where can people, if they're in the DMV area, where can they look you up if they need your services? I hope y'all don't, but if they do.
If you do, I'm everywhere. But you can find me online at thomaslawdc.com. You can follow me on Instagram to get updates about what I'm doing and great inspirational and informative content at Michelle C. Thomas ESQ. So LinkedIn, I mean, I'm everywhere.
She is.
Yeah, thomaslawdc.com.
And get on Clubhouse. She be getting on them Clubhouse rooms and letting people have it.
On occasion. Not
often.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've kind of gotten off there too, because there's so much drama on Clubhouse these days and times. But I go in there for a good conversation. And Michelle jumps on there and drops some wisdom. So follow her. If you are going through a divorce, need that wisdom in the DMV area, hey, hit her up. But if you're about to get married and you have some more in-depth conversations or questions about prenups, hit her up. I'm telling you right now, literally, she is, I've done my research. She's the most sought after attorney in that area around family and divorce law. So she may not be cheap. Well, I'm gonna say this, she ain't cheap.
Don't tell the people that.
I mean, you ain't cheap.
But you stop telling the people that.
But listen, give her a call. She'll work with you, and she's gonna take good care of you. Yo, it's your boy Anthony O'Neal. Make sure to check out the show descriptions for all of her information. I'll make sure to put that in there. You guys already know we're gonna keep it real, relevant, and relatable every single Monday. Thank y'all so much for rocking with me. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace out.